In an unprecedented move, President Trump has deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles as anti-ICE riots erupt across the city. The chaos, centered in Paramount, saw protesters clashing with federal authorities, including ICE officers, during alleged raids. The LAPD declared an unlawful assembly as agitators splintered through downtown, blocking major streets and causing widespread disruption. President Trump, mincing no words, condemned the riots, urging the LAPD chief to not let these thugs get away with it. He called for immediate action, demanding bring in the troops and arrest the people in face masks now. With 2,000 National Guard soldiers now in LA, the president lauded their great job, while lambasting Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass as incompetent and unable to handle the unrest. He declared these radical left protests will not be tolerated, and controversially, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell affirmed support for peaceful protest, but vowed a firm response to violence, distinguishing legitimate demonstrators from agitators and anarchists, who he claims are coming from other places just to hurt people. FBI Director Kash Patel weighed in, declaring Los Angeles under siege and promising to restore law and order. 10 arrests have been made so far, with 3 officers injured, and Chief McDonnell warned that arrests will pale in comparison to what will be made, vowing to use video evidence for aggressive prosecution. California Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, however, are pointing fingers squarely at the Trump administration, accusing them of manufacturing a crisis and escalating the situation. They've called for the immediate return of the National Guard to state command, with Bass emphasizing that while protest rights are sacrosanct, violence will not be tolerated. Former Vice President Kamala Harris echoed these concerns, calling the deployment a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos and a cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division. The White House simply stated, and this is why the American people rejected her. The Department of Homeland Security's message remains clear: order will be restored. This is a rapidly developing situation, with tensions soaring in Los Angeles.
Tensions are escalating between California and the federal government. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has slammed Governor Gavin Newsom, accusing him of threatening tax evasion over a staggering $80 billion. This explosive standoff stems from President Trump's vow to impose massive fines on California. Why? Because the state allowed a biological male to compete and win in girls' sports championships. Trump took to Truth Social, stating, "A biological male competed, winning big. Large-scale fines will be imposed." Newsom fired back on X, threatening to cut off California's federal tax payments, arguing the state pays over $80 billion more in taxes than we get back. But Bessent warns that Newsom's plan is extremely reckless and would be criminal tax evasion. He cautioned California businesses and state officials about personal liability for any attempt to evade federal taxes. Instead, Bessent urged Newsom to embrace Trump's tax cut model. This all ignited after A.B. Hernandez, a biological male, dominated the California girls' high jump and triple jump, even leading to a controversial rule change by the California Interscholastic Federation to create extra podium spots for the female athletes. Now both the Department of Justice and the Department of Education are launching federal probes into California's trans athlete policy, citing potential Title IX violations. The stakes are incredibly high as this controversy continues to unravel.
Hold everything. A shockwave just hit ABC News. Veteran correspondent Terry Moran has been suspended after launching an explosive attack on President Trump and his top advisor, Stephen Miller, in a now-deleted social media post. Moran labeled Miller a world-class hater, claiming his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He then targeted Trump, calling him a world-class hater whose animosity is merely a means to an end, his own glorification. The White House fired back immediately. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt slammed Moran's comments as unhinged and unacceptable, questioning his role as an unbiased and professional journalist. Stephen Miller himself weighed in, stating Moran pulled off his mask, revealing the radicals adopting a journalist's pose within the corporate press. Vice President J.D. Vance also condemned the post, calling it dripping with hatred. ABC News moved swiftly, confirming Moran's suspension. They stated his post violated our standards and does not reflect the views of ABC News. This isn't Moran's first run-in with Trump. During a past interview, Trump accused Moran of not being very nice and engaging in fake questions, even calling ABC one of the worst. This latest incident just reignites the fiery debate over media bias and journalistic integrity.
The Baltic Sea is now a critical flashpoint. NATO navies, led by the U.S. Sixth Fleet, are conducting massive war games, with 17 countries and 50 vessels showcasing their collective might. This comes as Russia significantly raises the stakes, vowing to protect its controversial Ghost Fleet. These ghost ships, hundreds of aging vessels, often oil tankers flying foreign flags, are Moscow's lifeline, used to bypass sanctions and even transport military hardware. But there's a darker concern. These ships are suspected of covert intelligence gathering and sabotaging vital undersea infrastructure, like internet cables. Remember the recent incident where 3 crew members are facing charges in Finland for allegedly damaging an undersea cable? They're believed to be part of Russia's shadowy fleet. Naval experts warn of the growing importance of the shadow fleet to Russia's wartime economy and a growing awareness that NATO needs to stop it. After NATO navies adopted tougher stop-and-search tactics, Russia issued a bold response. Their own navy will now escort these ships through the narrow, critical pass of the Gulf of Finland. Finnish Defense Minister Antti Häkkänen confirmed this new protective stance by Russia. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen described Russia's Baltic Sea threat as real and serious. The potential for miscalculation is sky high, especially since communication channels between NATO and Russian navies have broken down. While some doubt Russia's capacity to escort every ghost ship, their Baltic Sea fleet, though a junior cousin, possesses unique capabilities for the shallow, complex waters. The presence of powerful U.S. warships like the USS Paul Ignatius and USS Mount Whitney in Baltops is a clear message to Russia about NATO's combined naval power. The tensions are palpable. Estonia recently tried to inspect a suspected ghost ship, which complied, but a second attempt was blatantly ignored. This signals a new challenge. The Ghost Fleet is learning to defy NATO, especially with Russian escorts. But NATO nations are unlikely to back down, considering even new legislation like requiring proof of insurance to curb this escalating threat. The Baltic Sea is now a global chessboard.
Rumors are swirling around the White House after a stunning report claimed Elon Musk body-checked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The Washington Post, citing Steve Bannon, reported a physical altercation between the two after a heated Oval Office meeting in April. Apparently, after Trump sided with Bessent's choice for acting IRS commissioner, an exchange of insults escalated, with Musk allegedly ramming his shoulder into Bessent's ribcage and Bessent hitting back. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, however, downplayed the incident on Sunday Morning Futures, calling it a disagreement, not a fistfight. She stated the administration has moved on, focused on passing Trump's big, beautiful bill. But the friction isn't just about a physical scuffle. Musk is reportedly fuming over Trump pulling his ally Jared Isaacman's nomination for NASA, and critically, over Trump's new bill. Musk publicly blasted the bill on X, calling it a pork-filled, disgusting abomination, and shaming those who voted for it. Leavitt admitted to healthy disagreements within the administration, but insisted the team remains united. This drama unfolds as another media firestorm hits.
Bombshell development in the Diddy trial.
Sean Diddy Combs' legal team has filed for a mistrial, alleging the prosecution knowingly presented perjured testimony. This explosive claim centers on the testimony of Brianna Bongolan, a friend of Cassie Ventura. Last week, Bonna testified that Diddy dangled her off a 17th floor balcony in 2016. However, her memory of the incident, including what drug she was allegedly on, was severely questioned under cross-examination. Diddy's lawyers argue that Bonna and Cassie provided demonstrably false evidence about the balcony incident, then doubled down to introduce inadmissible hearsay. They assert the prosecution knew or should have known this testimony was perjured, given the timeline inconsistencies that would place Diddy elsewhere. This, they claim, is just one example of prosecutorial misconduct. This isn't the first time the defense has sought a mistrial. They previously raised concerns about the alleged destruction of fingerprints from Kid Cudi, who testified Diddy broke into his home and was involved in a car fire, both seemingly sparked by Diddy's jealousy over Kid Cudi's relationship with Cassie. Diddy faces grave charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking, carrying a minimum of 15 years to life in prison. He maintains his innocence amidst shocking testimonies of alleged abuse and trafficking. With the trial expected to conclude by July 4th, this mistrial motion adds another layer of intense drama to an already high-stakes case.